Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I was just debating with another viewer of the Peter Shit Show about whether gold or strategic metals would be a better investment. And this is the best chart I could find for that data. The copper to gold ratio. Now, copper used to be worth a lot more gold than it is today. We only have to go back to the 1970s, right? Gold was $35 an ounce, and at the time, the copper penny had finally reached 1 cent for the first time. That's why they were experimenting with using aluminum for the penny, but then they settled on zinc. And so in 1971, if you had 3,500 of those copper pennies, in theory that was worth about an ounce of gold, right? And obviously copper has slid in value relative. Nowadays, 3,500 of those copper pennies would be worth, I want to say $80, $90, probably, if you could melt it down. Quite a far cry from an ounce of gold, right? But the problem is that people will point to, well, because gold is money, that's why it's appreciated. The amount of stuff you could buy in history has expanded now that we have technology and all that. The problem is, look at the chart and take a look at what the half-life of so between 1863, around the time of the Civil War, when copper, well, I would imagine for the war efforts, right, and gold because there's not much to buy out there, right, so the value of your money would probably buy less, right? So we had 0.0015. When did it become half of that? Roughly right here, right? So 1917, around the time of the Spanish flu. So you can see that in 50 years, presumably, the value of gold doubled relative to the value of copper. And then it doubled again in another 50 years. And then it doubled again in another 50 years, right? Now think of it this way. If you owned an ounce of gold during this time, and every 50 years the amount of copper you could buy could double, it doesn't take that long before an ounce of gold could buy all the copper in the world, right? Now, does that sound right to you, that you could just go up to buy all the copper in the world with an ounce of gold, given how much gold is still being mined and how much is out there? I don't think that makes any sense at all, right? I think this cycle, this very long cycle that might be 300-400 years of, is due for a correction any moment now, and it's going to correct in a very dramatic way, I want to say. Now take a look at bismuth prices during the war. It was set at $1.25 per pound, and then $2.25 a pound from 1950 to 1964. So let's conservatively take the smaller number. So in the 1940s, you could buy, let's see, with an ounce of gold, $35, you could buy, there's the calculator, $35 divided by $1.25. An ounce of gold bought about 28 pounds of bismuth, right? Right now with gold at $2,000 an ounce, if we were to go back to that same ratio, a pound of bismuth would have to be $71.42. But don't forget, there's another problem, though. There are a lot of applications for bismuth today that we didn't have in the 1940s. We certainly didn't have Pepto-Bismol. We didn't have nuclear reactors. We didn't have various semiconductors or the solar panels. And a lot of bismuth is also depleted irreversibly, right? When you take Pepto-Bismol, when was the last time you went digging in your toilet to find the bismuth that came out the other end, right? I don't know what your body metabolizes it as. I heard it gives you a black tongue, presumably because it's bismuth metal that precipitates out, right? So in theory, you could go, next time you take Pepto-Bismol, you could go to your toilet and try to recover that bismuth, or maybe I'll make a video of myself doing that, because I love chemistry anyhow. Where else is it? Nowadays, they're trying to replace lead ammunition with bismuth because of environmental concerns. Imagine going to a field with a metal detector, telling all your buddies, hey, you know, people used to shoot with gold before they knew how valuable it was, right? That's going to be us someday down the road, right? Some of the bismuth is used to make polonium-210 for various nuclear applications. Well, that's gone forever, no matter what you do, right? I think either gold is very overvalued, or much more likely is that strategic metals are very undervalued today. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.